speaking about winding down, I've actually had, it's kind of comical how many questions I get regarding recovery protocols. And for me, like there's so many different recovery protocols, and you know, how do you put them together? What's the most important thing for you? Like I'm sure you're going to be different to me. I'm going to be different to someone else, but how would you, the reason I ask this is because on Sunday we went out to the marina, got a yacht, cruised around, had an awesome day with the boys. Awesome recovery session, man. You know, we got out, got some sunshine, got some fresh air, got some salt water, ate some like really good foods, and just kind of hung out and relaxed. And, you know, for me, that's an awesome recovery day. But there's so many different recovery mechanisms. What does a recovery day look like for you? That's the question I've been getting. If I'm going to have a recovery day, what should that look like? And I'm like, actually, I'll get you to go first before I speak.
Yeah, I saw you boys out on the board. Looks like you had a really good time. I actually responded to one of your stories. And I imagine for them, right, that was so refreshing to take them out of that environment where they're living and breathing the next fight that's coming up in a couple of weeks. They're ultra focused, super focused on the training and the goal and the fight, just completely switching that off and just getting out on a boat and enjoying themselves and somersaulting off the boat and all the rest of it. So slightly different for me. Obviously you're working with elite athletes, so the recovery protocols that you're using, maybe for yourself and for them as well, would typically be a little bit different than what my situation is, and also what I try and get my clients to do. So you know, with recovery, we need to recover from the training, but we also need to recover from life as well, right? So when we're training in the gym, we're breaking down the body, we're creating the stimulus. When we're recovering, that's the growth and the repair. But a lot of people, you know, they've got it completely wrong. They think when they're not training or they're not in the gym, that's a bad thing. They think that the growth occurs when they're training, so they want to do more training. So it's trying to get people to understand.
They think they're going to lose their gains.
Yeah.
They're going to lose my gains if I don't train for a week.
Yeah.
So, I used to be the same, bro.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. So it's trying to get them to understand that no, your body needs that recovery, okay, for the strength gains to occur, for the physical adaptations to occur. That happens when you're recovering. So for me, it's like I'll always take Sunday off. I won't do any work and I won't do any training. And typically I'll try and just switch off. I mean, fortunately now we're back in Phuket, so it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to kind of get down to the beach. It's a lot easier to go and have a swim. It's a lot easier to go and find yourself a hammock and just chill out. And for me, that's restorative. The benefit that I get from sitting there in a hammock and watching the sunset is massive. Okay, again, like I said, not just from a physical perspective, from the mental aspect as well. And with a lot of my clients, it's getting them to understand that they need to recover from the training, they need to recover from life. Like I said, people have got jobs, people have got families. Sometimes if you're pushing it too hard to get the training in, it's actually having an adverse effect. It's having a counterproductive effect. You're better off kind of going home, having a good sleep and getting an early night than maybe getting to the gym at 8:30, 9 o'clock and trying to squeeze that workout in. So it's just trying to help guys kind of change the mindset, change the thinking on that, and then trying to help them find ways to implement some recovery into typically their weekends. You know, typically most people are working on the Monday to Friday. So for myself, I'll use Sunday, and for most of my clients, I'll try and get them to do this over the weekend. And it's not necessarily things like, you know, cold exposure and heat exposure and the cryo chamber and all these types of things. It's just maybe getting out in the nature, you know, maybe taking the dog out for a walk, maybe taking the kids out for a walk or a hike, or getting out with a family. So, you know, finding ways of recovering, of de-stressing, of nourishing the body with nature, which all has a massive impact on your recovery. Like I said, not only in training but in life as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, mate. And you know, the people that ask me these questions on like how should a recovery day look, my answer is like, it depends. As with everything, it's like, go for a massage, go and do some yoga, some yin style yoga, go and get into nature and do some breath work, switch your fucking phone off for 3 hours, read a book, get in the sea, get some sun, hang out with friends, hot cold therapy, go and whatever, man. Like, everyone's going to be completely different. Go out on a yacht.
Yeah, but people are looking for the hack, right? They're looking what's the hack? What's the latest kind of fad, the recovery tool? But they're not looking at the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I think the big point that you made there that ties in all of those things, that those recovery mechanisms I just spoke about, is de-stress. Right, you live this stressful life where you've got appointments, you've got meetings, you've got conversations to have, you've got to pay bills, you've got relationship issues, kids are playing up, blah 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 blah. Like, you've got training on top of that. Then we need to create. I've said this numerous times this episode, but we need to create that stillness to de-stress, because all of those things are tied together by driving the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our relaxed state, right? So it doesn't matter what that tool is, as long as you can bring down the tone of the sympathetic state, that fight or flight state, that low level chronic fight or flight state that people typically find themselves in on a day-to-day basis, week to week, month to month. If we can start reducing that and upregulating the parasympathetic nervous system and drive that relaxed response, where we're telling ourselves, hey, we're in a safe environment, we need to decrease muscle tone, we need to decrease heart rate, respiratory rate, we need to, we're essentially telling our body that we're in a safe space and we can relax, we can calm down. I think it doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you're focusing on your breathing, you're going through that you're driving that relaxed state, then you're going to get the benefit from the recovery. And as you said, that's when adaptation occurs. When we train, we drive stimulus, and then we recover back to baseline homeostasis, and then it's only then can we then adapt above and beyond. We get bigger, stronger, faster, able to run for longer, etc.
Yeah, man, couldn't agree more. It's like you said, it's people. A lot of people actually would benefit more from having a massage or doing some yoga rather than trying to force themselves into the gym. They've had a crazy week at work. Maybe you've been working late, maybe you've been trying to work to a deadline, you've got lots going on with the family. You get to the weekend and you try and think, right, I need to force a workout, I need to go and lift some heavy weights, or I need to go and smash myself into the floor to make myself feel good. But again, it's creating that, the parasympathetic response. What we need to do is to calm down, to put ourselves into that rest or digest state. And that's actually going to help us create adaptations rather than kind of beating ourselves up and smashing ourselves.
That's a great point, mate. Like, if people do miss out on a workout throughout the week, then because they have been stressed, they've been overworked, blah, 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 and they think, fuck, I need to catch up on that workout, and then they go and hammer themselves. They're just adding stress on top of stress. Yeah, man, that's brilliant. Now, I spoke about my blood pressure, waking heart rate variability earlier, but just to start rounding out this episode, I want to give people some actionable advice that they can take. And I put this post out on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, and basically what I was saying was, a very simple way of seeing how much stress your body's under is by taking your waking heart rate every morning. Now, if you don't have a Fitbit or some form of activity tracker that does that for you, then what you can do is just use your carotid artery or the radial artery, where you just place your finger on the pulse and you count how many times your heart beats in a 1 minute period. Or you can reduce that and go count for 30 seconds, multiply that by 2, count for 15 seconds, multiply that by 4. And what people will find is, once you get your baseline, say my baseline heart rate, waking heart rate is 50 beats per minute. If I've had a couple of, last week, for example, my routine was all over the place. I wasn't getting to bed until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, waking up, whenever I wake up, all over the place. My waking heart rate went from 50 odd beats per minute up to like 58 beats per minute, man, over the course of the week. So that's an indication that, my body's under a heap of stress. So then going and training really fucking hard on top of that is just adding stress on top of stress. So when my waking heart rate has progressively bounced up 8 points, there's 8 beats per minute that my heart is having to work harder. That adds up over an hour, that adds up over a day, that adds up over a week. So adding stress on top of stress, not ideal. So that's where maybe my training is going to change. I'm still going to train, I'm still going to get into the gym, but now instead of getting after that heavy strength, speed, power session, now I'm going to back that off. I'm going to do some mobility work. You know, maybe I'll do a little bit of like bodybuilding style, functional bodybuilding style training where it's nowhere near as neurologically demanding and it's more about that muscle pump. And then I'm going to finish off with some stretches, some breath work so that I can really drive that parasympathetic state and start calming everything back down. Once my heart rate comes back down, levels out, 50 beats per minute, all right, cool. Now I'm in a good place to be able to now add stress through training.
Yeah, such a good thing to track your resting heart rate and your waking heart rate. I've got the Garmin myself, so that's something I track as well. And it's patterns that you pick up, right? You can see times that you've been traveling, times that your body clock's trying to adjust, times that maybe you've got a little bit sick, times that maybe you've started to overtrain a little bit. And it's something that I kind of check in with my clients as well. If my clients do have wearables, that's kind of built into my app, so I can pretty much, you know, we can graph that out and we can pick up patterns over time. And I can check in and I can send somebody a message and say I know exactly how they're feeling today because their heart rate's gone up to like 68 where it's typically down at like 58 or 60. You know, so and again, you know, using the tools that we have available. Like I said, if you don't have a wearable, there's ways of taking your pulse, but including that as a habit and an actionable step to actually say, hold on, how is my body responding today? And using that information to then decide how your training is going to look like.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome, man. I think that's great advice to start winding the episode up on. Mate, if people want to get in contact with you, if they want to follow you, where can they find you?
My website is www.kis-fitness.com. Keep it simple. And I'm on Instagram at the.robmorgan.
Love it, mate. I'll have all of those links in the show notes. Rob, as always, brother, appreciate it. I appreciate you, mate. Thank you for coming on the episode.
Awesome, Sean.
Cheers, bro.